talk about wealth of knowledge. You bring it all together.
Put the work in now to get yourself structured and organized and documented.
We need to grow this top line.
There is no one size fits all for this industry.
Thanks for checking out a fresh episode of the Restoration Masterclass on profitability. That's what we're covering in 2023. It is a huge topic in the industry right now, always a hot topic, I suppose, but there's been more and more education on it. Reets Drying Academy, for example, just did an event in the fall on profitability and how to be profitable. So that ushers in our guest for this episode. It is Jeremy Reets. He is the owner of Reets Drying Academy and also co-owner of Champion Cleaning Systems, which is a restoration company. So he understands profitability from both angles, both from the training side and from the restoration company operations side of things. So we're really going to talk about training and the importance of training when it comes to profitability. But first, I'm going to have Jeremy kind of set the stage and explain his growth and his track in the industry to show like just how much he understands from both sides of the business. So Jeremy, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thank you, Michelle. And before I get started, thank you for putting this together, because I wish this had existed like 30 years ago. I probably would have had a much shorter learning curve, but what a valuable series. Thank you for putting it together. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So I started in restoration. I mean, my parents started our company in 1970, so we've been at this a long time. It's the same company today, but it's gone through some evolution during that time period too. I did my first water damage December 24th, 1988. I remember exactly where it was, exactly what the job was about. And that was the very first water job I'd ever done. I've been working for the company for a while, but not in water. But I started working on the truck full time in 1990. And so I've been doing water damage work since then. So it's at 33 years, and lots changed. But, I think when I first started out, I was just like, all we need to do is get more work, right? We need to grow this top line. And as I took over our restoration company's operations in 2002, that was it. It's like, let's just grow, because we'll just blow it up. And I had a lot to learn, right? Because I just assumed that growth would translate into a multiple of profitability, and it doesn't work that way. So that's really my experience there, doing a lot of things the wrong way and learning a focus and learning really a way to generate profit, building a model, then replicating it, and always tweaking the model for the most profit that you can get from it, and for the right reasons. Yep. Is what led to the classes that we teach at Reets Drying Academy today. Every class that we have is focused on two things: how to do the right job, first of all, so standards and so forth. Mm-hmm. But just as closely, it's how to get paid, or how to make a profit from the work. Because we're all here for one reason, and that's for this, we're working so that we can make a living. Now, that we may take that company and do some other things with it, but if you don't make profit, you can throw all the rest of it out the window, because it takes profit to make it happen. So profitability should be our first and primary objective.
So dive into that a little bit more. In training, how are you training, say, somebody getting their WRT or ASD or whatever that may be, to also be profitable on the jobs and help understand that profitability model, what it actually takes? Like, you can create an estimate and have some like wiggle room in there, like, okay, we're going to make money on this, but I don't think it really works that way, right? So talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. The thing about estimating is by the time you get to the estimate, it's too late. Now, it's not to take any importance away from the estimating process. Mm-hmm. You have got to be masterful when it comes to not only how to put together the estimate, but how to justify it, how to get paid for that as well. So that's a critical component. But you asked about the training piece of it. So let's back up just a few steps, because really estimating is writing history. An estimator is a historian. They don't make history, they record it. So if you want the story to be written a certain way, it starts in the field. It starts from the moment you answer the phone. It continues from the first visit through the property being dried, because we focus obviously on, as you can see, drying buildings. So you can take a building and you put 4 restorers into that building, and they're going to have 4 different approaches. One of those was the most profitable approach. And so if you come into something and go, yeah, we know how to dry buildings. We know how to dry buildings. I'm not worried about it. Then what you've done is you've closed your mind. You've now decided this is the way we're going to do it, not because I know that there's no other more profitable way to do it, but you've decided to do it this way because it's what you're comfortable with. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're going to increase your profitability, you got to change something. And so that's what our classes are designed to do. They're designed to help you to understand different paths to get to the same end goal. Okay. And we're never going to teach you how to stuff a bunch of garbage into an estimate. That's worthless, right? That's not a long-term solution. But we do help you to understand, for example, why demolition is the worst thing that you can possibly do in a project. So why are we doing so much of it? That should, one of the things I teach in our company as well as in our classes is every time you pick up a hammer or a saw or a knife or a garbage bag, what you're doing is you're putting profit into that garbage bag and hauling it out the door. And it doesn't mean that we don't do demo. Well, you have to. That's absolutely necessary. But we should have exhausted every other option first before we get to just tearing things out. Because, you can dry buildings to preserve materials, or you can dry buildings to dry really fast. And if you want to dry really fast, just cut everything out. It goes really quickly and not very profitably.
Yes.
So anyway, just some of the things that training can do to help you is take what you're doing and not completely flip it on its head. That's not the idea, but it's small changes. I mean, you think about it, if you're making you're bringing in $1 million in revenue, which isn't a large number, but you're doing $1 million in revenue. 1% is $10,000. If I can change your margin by 1%, would you come? Well, for sure, right? That's not a major change in your operation, but small tweaks can make big differences.
So what would you say is the number one way, and maybe it's not training, maybe it is the number one way to make small changes, incremental changes toward being more profitable doing restoration work and cleaning? Yeah.
So the number one way, and you said or cleaning, and I'm going to just stick with restoration because it's the part I wake up thinking about, and I go to sleep thinking about, and I dream about sometimes as well, is how to be more profitable in restoration. I think that the number one thing you can do is bring consistency and be focused, right? I think the enemy of profitability is, in many cases, us, right? Because, and I know that's cliche, but we get excited about these good ideas. Oh, that would be awesome. We should do this. You go to a trade show, you can make a lot of money doing this little diversification. And why wouldn't we? Because we could. Like, that would be awesome. Stop it. Like we, as entrepreneurs, we're excited by the new shiny stuff. And frankly, that is, that's going to hurt your profitability. On the other hand, if you focus in on what's the most important, the most profitable thing, the simplest thing you can do, the thing that you're the best at, the thing that you enjoy, and just get down to one thing, because we used to do everything. We did, fire, water, storm, roofing, reconstruction, pack outs, you name it. Just you can make the list. Everybody knows it. And so now we've got to figure out, just all I'm doing was managing this and that problem and that problem, the other, and your guys, you're using the same people to cross all these lines. We stopped that many years ago. And when we did, an amazing thing happened. We focused in on the one thing that we were really good at, that we were most profitable at, and we got really good at it. And so if you could do one thing, it's focus and stop coming up with new ideas. Interestingly, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, said, that the way that they become so profitable is by saying no to good ideas every day, so that they can say yes only to the greatest ideas. And so we've got to, that's a great thing to keep in mind. Say no to every good idea. Just say no, and don't be ashamed of it. Don't be scared of it. Just say, no, we're not doing that. It's not how we make money. Because you need that, that will give you the time to focus in on the stuff that you're great at.
That makes sense. Focus. All right. Going back to the training discussion, say to companies that are like, we hardly do any training. We don't even know where to start. We have enough money to maybe do one thing, or we want to start somewhere. Where do they start? Are they starting with conferences? Are they starting with an online class? Are they starting with a class in person at Reets, or else? Like, what is step one? And obviously they should be doing all these things over time, but where do they start?
Yeah. Well, I think you've got to look at what's going to make the biggest impact for me. The answer is not the same for everyone. Sure. So you need to look objectively at your own operation and go, maybe you listen into some, there's so many even programs like this. You don't have to go anywhere. You can do this in the evening. You can listen to this and get some sort of idea. This is the area where if we focus, we can make the most impact, because you can't make a lot of changes. You can't come in and take an existing operation and change everything. You get excited and you're like, oh, we're going to change everything. And you know what happens? You change none of it, because it has to remain sustainable. Yeah. So anything that you can find that will make the most impact with the least amount of adjustment is going to be good. Now, how you get that into your organization, typically, not saying anything bad about conferences. They're good for a lot of different ideas and for networking and so forth. But if you know kind of where you need to make your adjustment, they're not going to deep dive into a subject. It's going to tend to be very shallow. So find education that is focused on exactly what it is you need to do. And then you need to make sure that the source of the education has a bit of proof of concept, right? Because there's a lot of education that will teach you very well how to follow the standard. Yes. But is that what you need, or do you need to know how to make a living out on the street, right? How are we gonna turn this into something I can actually do? So I guess once you've identified that, then the simplest way is to do live stream, like Zoom classes. The only challenge I will tell you is I will share, and I think this is really important to understand. Don't get education and then not give someone the opportunity to apply it right away. So think about this. We've all been on YouTube. If you search how to anything, there's going to be a YouTube video that pops up, right? And so you watch it, and let's say you're going to repair something on an appliance. And so you watch it like, oh, there's the I see exactly how to do it. And so then you walk over to the appliance, you start to do it, and you realize, oh my goodness, I got to go. Let me get it on my phone and push play, and you start step one. Okay, now I do step one. And then you press try step two, and you do step two. And it's so the way that we learn is we hear and then we have to do. And that's how we really learn. So if you're going to do something that's online and there's no opportunity to do, you've got to create the opportunity to do within your organization. If you do that, then you'll be able to incorporate, that'll ingrain that in your people in your organization, and be very clear as you make an adjustment. Be very clear what you expect, how to do it, how it's going to be measured, and then provide the training that's necessary to get it done. It's absolutely necessary in order for something to really make a change.
Do you help companies come up with a training plan? Like, how often should there be training? I know there's some in-house and then maybe we're sending people away, but how often should there be touch points related to the technical training side of things?
So I think that what you have to do is come up with what's often called a training budget. And most people are like, well, I don't know how much I want to spend. That's not what I mean. The question is, how much education should you give each role each year? And so you think about it and go, I don't know, never thought about that. Well, that's where you should start. Look at each role and think, if I have technicians in the field, how much training do they need in order to improve? Because the answer could be 0. They don't need any training. Well, okay, that's one option, but that's not going to produce the results that you want. And you can say, well, we could train them, 4 weeks a year rather. And it's like, that's probably not realistic either. Right. But how much training should be budgeted for this individual, and then focus on, okay, I want them to have 1 week of training a year.
Mhm.
It's not a huge amount.
Yep.
What is the most important education for that role to make the impact that you need? And maybe you're doing it internally. Maybe you're going to get online training that you bring into your in-house, and then you show it, and then you talk about it, and you do the training 30 minutes a week. Okay, that can work, right? Yeah. But be strategic about it. Don't just knee jerk, this gets everybody training, right? That's probably not going to be the most effective versus sitting down and thinking, what do I need to achieve? How do I get the training to my staff? When you're purposeful like that, you're going to have the most impact.
Love it. All right. Well, Jeremy, anything else you want to add before we wrap it up? Thank you for all your insight. Yeah,
I really appreciate you putting this together. I know training is often thought of as certification. We'll get you certified if that's what you want. But we're not all about providing certification. That's not our focus. Our focus is on helping you to be successful in the business that you're in. And so, if you're thinking about what do I need to do, give us a ring. Just call, speak with Meredith, speak with Rebecca. You're probably not going to get me on the phone. But we talk, and we can help you with that. And if you decide, it's not right for me right now, that's fine. We understand. Yep. But it certainly can't hurt to just call and say, here's where I'm at. What do you think I should do?
Yes.
We talk to people, thousands of restorers every year, and we can give you some good ideas. And then you decide if it works for you. And if it is, be purposeful about your decisions and make 2023 the most profitable year you've ever had.
I love it. All right, Jeremy, thank you so much. For those who are listening, thank you for listening in. You can find more of the masterclass on the CNR website. You can also find an article from Jeremy on that demo concept that he was talking about and not demoing everything out. He has an article on CNR about that. So search for his name and you can find that out. Also visit the Reets website to find all of the educational offerings they have coming up. And Jeremy, hopefully we'll cross paths sometime this year. Thank you.